everyone, welcome to Module 3. This week we're going to be talking about your responsibilities as a therapist as well as the client's rights within the therapy relationship. And this will be part 1 of 2 parts of lectures, and the second part will be done during Module 4. This week in particular we're going to focus on informed consent, and we'll also talk a bit about the way that we ensure that therapists are practicing within their competence. So I'd like to talk about informed consent first, because it's one of the first things that you're going to encounter in your practicum placements, and it's going to be important that you know the elements, what types of information you're going to need to provide to the client, and here you're really striking a balance. You don't want to overwhelm the person with information. You only want to provide the information that they need in order to make an informed choice regarding treatment. So, what types of things are included in informed consent? Well, you want to make sure that you make clear the risks of the treatment, the benefits of the treatment, and the alternatives to the treatment that you would provide. And for example, with regard to the risks, you might want to explain to people that they may feel a little worse as they start to delve into their problems before they begin to feel better. You also want to explain the cost of treatment, how that's going to work, how their insurance might factor in, for example, especially if they have an HMO and there may be a limit on the number of sessions that they can have, and how your organization handles that type of situation if it exists. You also want to talk about confidentiality, their right to confidentiality, but also the limits to that confidentiality. For example, if they told you they were going to hurt themselves or someone else, if there was abuse to a child or the elderly. So things like that that are included in mandated reporting that we'll cover in more detail in later lectures. You also want to disclose that you're a trainee and that you're under supervision, because this will also be related to the fact that you'll be disclosing information to your supervisor. And if you also would like to record sessions, either by video or audio, you want to let them know that and also have them give separate consent to allow that recording for you to use in supervision. You want to also let them know if you're going to have group supervision in which you might present the case, and just make it clear that you won't use their name if that's the case. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you check their comprehension. So with higher functioning clients, you want to make sure that you're not offending them, but you do want to make sure that they understand. So you might just want to stress the importance to you that they do understand the elements, and create an environment in which they feel comfortable asking questions if they're not clear on portions of the information. The second part that the material this week will cover has to do with whether therapists are practicing within the bounds of their competence. So you have a duty to ensure that you're not practicing outside of the bounds of your competence. And early on, understandably, if you turned away every case that you didn't feel able to handle, you wouldn't have very many cases. But since you're under supervision, that's okay for now. But throughout your career, you want to consider whether this is an issue, whether you have adequate training to handle, or whether they might need someone who specializes in that particular issue. In addition to your own judgment about whether you're able to handle a case, there are also external checks in place to make sure that therapists are competent. And the first starts with candidates being chosen for a training program. So it's the training program's duty to protect the public from people who might not be ready to be a therapist or might have issues to work through on their own. So, and that type of evaluation of, for example, some type of interpersonal problem will go on throughout graduate school, and it's the school's duty to evaluate students on that level. Once you graduate, then you'll be expected to become licensed, and licensure is another check to make sure that the therapist is competent. And then to ensure that the therapist doesn't fall behind on the most recent research or techniques, there's also continuing education credits that you're expected to keep up with each year. And again, this is all to ensure that the public is protected and to make sure that therapists are adequately competent. And those are the two main topics for this week: informed consent and competence and bounds of competence for therapists. And I'll look forward to talking with you again next week. Thanks.